Welcome everybody to Google Cloud Security Summit. Today, we're going to talk about how you can protect your AI innovations with Google Cloud IAM. Let's start with some of the major industry trends right now. One of the main things that's happening right now is the number of non-human identities is actually exploding. By some estimates, number of non-human identities, including agent identities, is up to 45 times the human identities. What this means is that there is a major challenge in our hands in terms of how these identities are actually managed. To make it worse, one study says that only 2% of the permissions granted to identities is actually used, and 50% of the identities were actually at high risk. So this over-permissioning of resources is actually a big problem and really exposes your assets to major risk of attacks. Further to complicate this scenario, we see that the agentic applications are coming to fore. By some estimates, 33% of enterprise software applications are going to incorporate agentic AI by 2028, and 15% of day-to-day work decisions will actually be made autonomously. With all of this in mind, really there are some major risks to the AI innovation. Number one is agents having access to privileged data, meaning data that they should really not have access to in terms of how they make decisions. And then the second big risk is these agents making or taking unintended actions, actions that were not desired by the actual controlling user. Combined together, these risks really pose a challenge for AI innovation as we go forward. These risks can really quickly erode trust of users from AI, and therefore it's very important that we mitigate these. And to mitigate these capabilities, what we have is a very comprehensive Google Cloud Security platform. It starts off on the base as the first resource management layer, where we give you capabilities to manage your cloud resources at scale. Then on top of it, builds an identity layer, a layer that helps you manage both your human and non-human identities, including the agentic identities. On top of that, then we have a series of access management controls which enable you to give access to resources, deny access to resources, control the amount of time the access is given to resources, and construct boundaries around what resources can identities actually access. At the same time, we also have a series of runtime access risk management capabilities that allow you to build a network boundary around your resources, that allow you to enforce re-authentication, MFA, and respond to threats in real time. All these capabilities collectively actually provide a strong security platform for you to manage and control your AI resources. But that's not enough. We also have a strong set of governance capabilities. We provide you with a series of org policies that you can deploy and make sure that your cloud posture is compliant with the needs of your organization. All of this ultimately is powered by Gemini, meaning we build in a series of AI capabilities into this platform so that you can stay productive as you're using this platform. Now let's go deeper into each of these layers. First, let's talk about resource management capabilities. Here, we provide you with a resource manager that you can use to group and hierarchically configure your resources. Then you can tag these resources so that you can quickly find them, so that you can use these tags in policies and create policies that work at scale. And last but not the least, we also give you asset inventory management capabilities so that you can search and monitor all these resources at scale much more quickly. Furthermore, all of this is towards resource management at scale. You can manage your policies at scale. You can group your projects at scale. You can manage your APIs and billing and project level access levels and org policies at scale. And last but not the least, attach key value pairs, that is tags, to your resources at scale. But we realize that resource management is not always enough. More and more, you want to think about your resources in the form of applications, because that's what you're actually building. So we want to give you application management capabilities at scale as well. Now you can manage apps, not just the infrastructure, so that you can focus on your business goals. You can create and manage applications directly in folders by enabling what we call app management capabilities. And last but not the least, app resources can span across multiple projects. What this means is that you have tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of how your resources are actually managed to meet your business goals. Now, on top of this, as I mentioned briefly, we have a series of cloud governance capabilities. We give you a number of managed constraints out of the box, 110 actually in number, which is you have 110 org policies built in the platform that you can quickly enable at the click of a button. At the same time, we give you custom constraint building capabilities so that you can build constraints for your projects, for your org, in a way that actually suits your needs. This way you can govern how your resources are actually configured and make sure you always stay compliant. But we realize that the challenge in front of you, it is not just to start secure on Google Cloud, but to always stay secure. And therefore, we provide you with a Google Cloud Security baseline. This enables you to harden your resources and control the resource configuration so that you can meet, say, CISA guidelines. Many of these policies are enabled by default for you so that you can start secure. But once again, because of your ability to build custom constraints, you can stay secure as your deployments on cloud increase and your requirements from cloud change. Now, all of this is actually built on identity platform, a platform that we call identity first, and a stack which is identity first security stack, and that covers human identities as well as non-human identities. For both these identities, we enable you to authenticate in a federated fashion as well as non-federated fashion. For human identities, we provide MFA reauth capabilities, and for non-human identities, we enable you to have IP and network level restriction as well as MTLS capabilities. And on top of it, we have very strong runtime identity threat detection and response capabilities, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the slides to come. Now, let's get one level deep into the human identity capabilities. We provide you with a full spectrum of human identity capabilities for Google Cloud. On one end of the spectrum, you can sync your identities from your 3PIDP into Google Cloud and use that as what we call cloud identities. And on the other end of the spectrum, you can choose to not sync these identities and have a single sign-on from your 3PIDP into Google Cloud resources. But we also realize that many of you may want to have some of your identities synced and some of the identities not synced. Therefore, we allow you to operate even in mixed mode. This gives you a full breadth of capabilities for identity management on Google Cloud. For non-human identity management, particularly, we also enable you to securely have your workloads talk to Google Cloud APIs and have these same workloads talk securely to other workloads as well. These are all built on a strong set of capabilities. One of them is actually keyless access to Google Cloud APIs using X509 certificates, which means that even if you have workloads outside of Google Cloud and they want to access Google Cloud APIs, you don't need to export, for example, service account keys. You don't need to bake in these keys in your code base, which is very insecure, as you know. And through federation and federation based on X509 certificates, you can have secure access from your workloads into Google Cloud APIs. We are also modernizing the base layer of non-human identities, the service accounts. We're building what we call a universal workload identity, which is going to be strongly attested to your Google Cloud workloads and cannot be impersonated. These identities will be very easy to manage, and they're based on standards, SPIFFE in particular. And by the way, these are already supported in preview mode on GCE and GKE, and very soon they'll be on Cloud Run as well. What this means is that your non-human identities can be secured and you don't have to worry about impersonation or dormant identities lying around that can be misused by an attacker. Now, in terms of runtime capabilities, we give you strong identity threat detection and response capabilities and help you prevent unauthorized access in real time. This identity threat detection and response capabilities will be available to you at org level, at project level, as well as at folder level. Therefore, in real time, if an attacker is trying to access your resources, say for example, from a location which they have never accessed, which the normal user has never accessed, then you will be able to detect it and prevent access by asking the user to re-authenticate, or in some cases, killing their session so that they have to start from scratch. All of this is to make sure that you have strong, real-time identity threat detection and response capabilities. So we talked about identity-first security stack. We also talked about human identities and non-human identities, as well as agentic identities. But agentic identities are actually somewhat special. Agents sometimes have to act on delegated authority and act as humans. But sometimes they have to act on independent authority and act as non-humans. So what we really want to do is build these agent identities such that they can have this dual mode. And that's exactly what we have done. In fact, agent identities will be first-class citizens of the entire Google Cloud platform, and they will enable agents across your entire infrastructure. They will enable agents whether they are built inside agent space or on agent engine or using agent development kit. To give a real-world perspective on emerging challenges, we have with us Sai, security engineer from Yahoo. Yahoo is at the forefront of thinking about how to secure complex AI workloads at scale. Welcome, Sai.
Thank you for having me here, Ravi.
Fantastic. So, Sai, what are the new identity risks that you see coming with AI?
Thank you, Ravi. This is a perfect topic to discuss. From our perspective, the entire AI supply chain introduces new risks. We must secure an agent's entire AI supply chain truly from its inception. This means securing everything from the initial training data to the model registry, the CI/CD pipeline that builds it, all the way to its final deployment. We see the entire lifecycle as a new attack surface. Across every stage, inadequate security controls, especially robust identity management, leave organizations vulnerable to data poisoning, model theft, and tampering attacks. As an industry, we are rapidly moving past the era where using a single static service account with broad permissions was acceptable across this entire chain.
So, how do you think Google Cloud Identity Solutions can help you tackle this problem?
This is precisely where workload identity becomes our absolute bedrock. It is essential for creating that verifiable chain of trust for the AI infrastructure. Workload identity allows each step in our AI lifecycle to possess a strong, attestable identity, crucially, without ever needing to handle a static key. This fundamentally secures who is performing actions at every stage. But looking ahead, the real challenge is not simply securing the machine itself. It's the agentic AI running on that machine. Here, knowing who is performing an action is no longer enough. We desperately need to know why. Many of us are already grappling with the confused deputy vulnerability, where a seemingly trusted agent is maliciously tricked, often through prompt injection, into taking unintended actions. The concerning part, audit logs would show the agent did exactly what it was permissioned for, but the original intent was completely subverted. This then is a critical forward-looking challenge. This profound problem of truly understanding an agent's intent fundamentally goes beyond what traditional IAM was built for.
So, how do you envision to tackle this challenge of intent?
And this leads us directly to our vision for the future: ephemeral identities for autonomous AI agents. Let us quickly walk through the flow. An agent requests access from a central AI identity hub, providing its context and intent. The hub checks policy, validates the request, and mints a short-lived single-purpose JSON Web Token with custom claims, which can be validated to perform the intended action. The principle, as we discussed, is simple. Beyond securing the agent, we must start securing every single task. This requires an identity that is just-in-time, context-aware, and policy-driven. That said, we are excited about the potential of Google's new identity features for enhancing AI security in this space.
Thank you, Sai, for joining the conversation. We really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me here, Ravi.
Now, let's talk about access management capabilities. At Google Cloud, we have a number of capabilities that help you build defense-in-depth posture for all your resources, starting with IAM Allow, which allows you to give permanent permissions to identities. At the same time, we have PAM capabilities, which allow you to give very ephemeral permissions to the identities, meaning these permissions actually expire after a certain period of time. Building on top of it, we have IAM Deny capabilities, where you can deny access to a set of identities using these simple policies. And last but not the least, with Principal Access Boundary, you can draw a boundary around the resources that your identities can access, meaning your identities cannot access anything that goes beyond this access boundary. Together, these policies help you build a strong posture for your resources. Now, you can also improve IAM and permissions hygiene with AI. With Gemini-powered role picker, you can identify exactly what permissions you need to give to identities based on the task that they're trying to perform. And with entitlement management, you can identify when your identities have excessive permissions and take those permissions away based on their severity. Collectively, these two capabilities will help you ensure that none of your identities have over permissions and therefore significantly reduce the attack surface area. Now, building on top of it, now let's talk about IAM Admin Center. This is your one-stop place where you can get to know about all the IAM related activities that you've been performing, security insights that are related to IAM, where you left off last time and pick up from there, as well as any important notifications that you may have regarding your IAM system. This becomes the place, this becomes the dashboard where you can go and quickly pick up your IAM activities and go on the path of securing your resources. So far, we have talked about admin time controls that we provide. We also have a number of controls that help you protect your resources at runtime. So let's go through them. So first and foremost, late last year, we announced that mandatory MFA is coming to Google Cloud, which means if you have identities that have admin level privileges, then these identities are going to require to have MFA enabled. This ensures that these identities cannot be misused and abused for attacks. This is really a huge step forward in securing your resources. In fact, according to CISA, enabling MFA actually reduces the risk of attacks by up to 99%. So this is a very, very important control that we highly encourage all of you to adopt. Now, on top of MFA, we have a number of other capabilities as well, including reauth, identity threat detection and response, and controls like VPCSC, identity-aware proxy, context-aware access, and org restriction setter. Now let's talk about identity threat detection and response capabilities. This capability leverages over 60 activity signals to identify suspicion actions and identity threats, which means that in real time, you can identify if an attacker is trying to access your resources. And when these suspicious actions are detected, you can configure the system so that you can automatically trigger interventions such as MFA, reauth, and deny. This significantly, once again, reduces your attack surface because in real time, you're identifying suspicious actions and controlling them. Also, we have re-authentication capabilities for 11 sensitive actions, which means that if the user is trying to do any of these 11 sensitive actions, then every 15 minutes, they will have to re-authenticate themselves. Once again, this ensures that no attacker can access these sensitive actions easily. This means that once again, your attack surface is significantly reduced. So we have covered a lot of ground. Let's quickly recap. We talked about our strong resource management capabilities. We talked about our identity management capabilities, which covered both human identities and non-human identities. And we also talked about actually the agentic identities as well. Furthermore, we talked through the access management capabilities where we discussed how IAM allowed, deny, PAM, principal access boundary, collectively help you build a strong defense in depth posture. Also, we talked about runtime access control capabilities, access risk management capabilities with ITDR, MFA, REAUTH, VPCSC, and many others. And last but not the least, we also covered how Google Cloud Security Platform provides you with strong cloud governance capabilities using org policies, managed constraints, as well as custom constraints. Together, the entire Google Cloud Security Platform gives you strong set of controls that you can leverage to protect your AI innovations at scale. With that, thank you so much for joining us for the session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit as well. Thank you.